Using ratios. You can use what you have learned in the previous lesson on ratios and apply them to everyday life situations. Using ratios is especially helpful when converting between measurement units. That's when it's seen the most. So for example, there are 12 inches in 1 foot. But we can ask, how many inches are there in 4 feet? So in order to do this, we first set up a ratio using the given information, the 12 inches in 1 foot. And we then want to know how many inches, so that's an unknown, that's an x value, are in 4 feet. So we can write the ratios 12 inches to 1 foot is going to be some amount of inches to 4 feet. Now, since there are 12 inches in 1 foot and you want to find out how many inches there are in 4 feet, well, how are we getting from 1 to 4? You're multiplying 4. So that's like multiplying by a factor of 4. So we're going to multiply 12 by the factor of 4 to find the number of inches, which is 4 times 12 is 48. So using the given ratio and what we're looking for, we can see that there are going to be 48 inches in 4 feet. Here's another example. There are 3 feet in 1 yard. How many yards are in 12 feet? So setting up our ratio, the first thing we're given is there is 3 feet in 1 yard. So that's where we're getting 3 feet in 1 to 1 yard, that ratio. Now we want how many yards, so that'll be our variable x, is 12 feet. So 12 feet we're lining up with 3 feet, and our unknown is matching up with the 1 yard. Well, how many sets of 3 are in 12? We could also think, what are you multiplying 3 by to get 12? You could always divide, right? 12 divided by 3 equals 4, so that's why we're going to multiply by that factor of 4 to get that 12 feet is equal to 4 yards. Here's another example. There are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. How many centimeters are there in 5 meters? So here we set up our ratio with the given information that 100 centimeters is in 1 meter, or is 1 meter. So how many centimeters, that's our unknown, is going to be in 5 meters, sets up the ratio 100 to 1 and 5 to x. Now since there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, and we want to find out how many centimeters are in 5 meters, again, we need to see how are we getting from 1 to 5. We're multiplying by 5. So let's multiply both sides by 5, which gives us our 1 meter to 5 meters. And now x becomes 100 centimeters times 5 to 500 centimeters. So there are 500 centimeters in 5 meters using that factor. Another example, there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Now how many meters are in 750 centimeters? So our given ratio, our given information to set up is 100 centimeters in 1 meter. There's 100 centimeters to 1 meter. Then we want how many meters, that's our unknown x, is going to be in 750 centimeters. That sets up the ratio 750 to x. Now how many sets of 100 are in 750? That one's not as easy to see. We can divide to help us with that. And 750 divided by 100 is 7.5. So we're multiplying 100 by 7.5 to get 750. So we'll multiply 1 by 7.5 to get 7.5, which shows us the ratio that 750 centimeters is equal to 7.5 meters. Here is a problem that we can use the ratios and that converting between the two ratios and comparing the two ratios, what it would be used for. So this problem says Kylie needed 6 yards of fabric to make her Halloween costume. How many feet of fabric does Kylie need? So we need to convert from yards to feet. So we know that 1 yard equals 3 feet, so we need to know how many feet are in 6 yards. Well, if 1 yard is 3 feet, that's our first ratio we can set up. And we're trying to figure out how many feet, that's an unknown, are in 6 yards. So 6 yards would be compared to x. Now, how are we getting from 1 yard to 6 yards? We're multiplying by a factor of 6. So I'm going to multiply 3 feet by that same factor of 6 to get that 6 yards is going to be equivalent to 18 feet, and that answers our question. Another problem we see here is Henry measured his computer desk at home. The desk measured 72 inches across and 36 inches long. What are the desk's measurements in feet? A lot of times inches doesn't help us when we're trying to fit furniture in an area. We want to fit this desk in a room, so it's better to look at it in feet than inches. Well, we want to convert the inches to feet, so we know 12 inches are equal to 1 foot. So let's start with the across, the 72 inches across. So we're told we know if there are 12 inches in a foot, 12 inches equals 1 foot. We want to see how many feet 72 inches would equal. That would be our unknown. Well, 12, trying to get from 12 to 72 would be by multiplying by a factor of 6. You could always do 72 divided by 12 to help you with that. So let's multiply 1 foot by 6 to find out that 72 inches is going to equal 6 feet. So across, this desk is 6 feet long, or wide. Now let's look at length. Let's look at 36 inches long. Well, it depends on your perspective, what your length versus your width is, but one of it isn't specific. But this across is 6 feet. Now let's look at the length. So we've got 36 inches long. So again, we know the same unit rate, 12 inches equals 1 foot. And we're looking for 36 inches equaling an unknown amount of feet. Well, 12 to 36, you're multiplying by a factor of 3. You could always do 36 divided by 12 to see that 36 inches is going to equal 3 feet. So that desk is 3 feet by 6 feet. One last problem for good measure. Actually, I think we have 2 more. So the second to last problem. Again, the more practice you have comparing the two, the better. So Caitlin runs 1 kilometer every day. What is the distance she runs in 1 week in meters? So we know that 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. So we want to know how many meters are in 7 kilometers. Because if she's running a kilometer every day, 1 week would be multiplying that by 7 to give us 7 kilometers. So our information we're given is that 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. We have that rate. But we want to know about 7 kilometers. We want to know that unknown amount of meters for 7 kilometers. Well, 1 to 7 would be multiplying by 7. So if I multiply 1,000 by 7, I'm going to get that 7 kilometers is 7,000 meters. So she is running 7,000 meters in 1 week. If she's running that 1 kilometer every day, she's now running 7,000 meters in 1 week. Now for our last problem, we have Corey lives 2 miles from her school. What is the distance from her school in yards? Right? We're trying to figure out how many yards does Corey live away from school, knowing that 1 mile is equal to 1,760 yards. So that's our first rate we can use, is the 1 mile is equal to 1,760 yards. But we want to know 2 miles from school. We want to know that unknown, how many yards that's going to be. Well, from 1 mile to 2 mile, we're multiplying by 2. So we need to multiply 1,760 by 2 to find how many yards that would be. Well, 2 miles, if we multiply by 2, is going to be 3,520 yards. So she lives that many yards away from school. So you can see we can be using these ratios and comparing them and finding different factors in order to look at a different rate, or look at a rate in a different way. Using ratios. There will be situations where you will be required to convert between U.S. customary units and metric units. Examples of U.S. customary units are like inches, feet, yards, and miles, which measure distance, and ounces and pounds and tons, which measure weight. Examples of metric units are centimeters, meters, and kilometers, which measure distance, and grams, kilograms, and metric tons measure weights. Here in the United States, we're using the customary units, but the metric units are used in places like Europe and other countries. So you can use ratios to convert U.S. customary units into metric units so that you can kind of see the relationships and weights and measurements of different things in different countries and compare them. Some common conversions you should know are here, where we have 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters, 1 foot is equal to 0.3 meters, 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers, 1 pound is equal to 0.45 kilograms, and 1 gallon is equal to 3.79 liters. So we can then ask questions like how many centimeters are in a standard ruler. So we know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot, and 1 inch is equal to 2.5 centimeters. So a standard ruler is 1 foot, and we know 1 foot has 12 inches. So if 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters, well, we can multiply 1 foot, or think that 1 foot is equal to 12 times 2.54. Since there's 12 inches in a foot, we would have 12 of the 2.54 centimeters, which is going to equal 30.48 centimeters. So there are 30.48 centimeters in 1 foot, so there are 30.48 centimeters in a standard ruler. We can also ask questions like this, where Carlos ran a 5K race. A 5K race is 5 kilometers long. How many miles is this? So we know that 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers. So how many miles is 5 kilometers? So again, we know that 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers. So we have to ask ourselves, well, how many miles is 5 kilometers? Well, we can divide 5 kilometers by 1.6, which is going to be approximately 3.1 miles. So how many miles are in a 5 kilometer race is 3.1 miles. So people who are saying that they're going to run a 5K are running 3.1 miles. So Carlos is included. We can answer questions like this as well. Linda's Chihuahua weighs 5 pounds. What is the dog's weight in kilograms? So we know that 1 pound equals 0.45 kilograms. More formally, as we go from question to question, we start to see this same pattern where there's this relationship, where if we have 1 pound equals 0.45 kilograms, we can see the relationship, well, 5 pounds is going to equal how many kilograms? Well, when we don't know something, let's use a variable x. Now we can see the relationship that 1 pound to 5 pounds is multiplying by a factor of 5. So we need that same factor on the right. We can multiply 0.45 by 5 and fill in that 5 pounds. 0.45 times 5 is going to give us 227 kilograms. Or I'm sorry, 2.27 kilograms. So the dog's weight, if it's 5 pounds in the United States, if they went to England, they would say that it's 2.27 kilograms. A different type of question also is like this, where we have Sandy is making 3 gallons of apple cider. How many liters of apple cider will Sandy have? So we're converting from gallons to liters. Well, we know that 1 gallon equals 3.79 liters. And we want to see, well, what would 3 gallons equal? So more formally, 1 gallon equaling 3.79 liters. We're comparing to 3 gallons equaling an unknown amount x of liters. So 1 gallon to 3 gallons is multiplying by a factor of 3. So we're multiplying 3.79 by 3. To get that 3 gallons is going to equal 11.36 liters. So Sandy has 11.36 liters of cider. Again, these are just all different situations and scenarios where we're using ratios to convert to the U.S. metric, or from the U.S. metric system, or the U.S. customary system to the metric system. It's just a way to convert between the two, and it's very useful when you're going from country to country, or you're even talking to someone and seeing what they're talking about from country to country. Measurements. It is also helpful to know different measurements. A larger unit of measurement is comprised of a smaller unit of measurement, such as a foot made up of inches or a meter made up of centimeters. The same is true for volume and weight. So you may have seen these terms for volume. Fluid ounce, 1 cup equals 8 ounces, 1 pint equals 2 cups equals 16 fluid ounces, 1 quart equals 2 pints equals 4 cups equals 32 fluid ounces, and 1 gallon equals 4 quarts equals 8 pints equals 16 cups equals 128 fluid ounces. We have equivalents with all of these terms for volume. Here's a nice chart that kind of breaks down, based on 1 gallon, all of the different smaller measurements that make up that largest one. You also can look at this for volume in metric units here. We have the milliliter, the liter being 1,000 milliliters, and you have this base 10 system where you're multiplying, where you have your base is 1 and you multiply by 10 going further, or dividing by 10. Again, looking about how the larger the unit, it could be made up of smaller units of measurement. For weight in U.S. customary units, we have ounces, pounds, where a pound is 16 ounces. You have a ton is 2,000 pounds. And you have weight in the metric units being a gram, where kilogram is 1,000 grams and a metric ton is 1,000 kilograms. So there may be situations where you will need to multiply or divide different units. For example, a baker needs 5 bags of 5 kilogram flour. How many kilograms of flour does he need in total? Here, we're multiplying 5 times 5 kilograms. So that would be 5 times 5 is 25 kilograms. In this case, we're not converting between units. We're just multiplying by a factor of 5. So that would be okay. We don't need to change to a different unit because we still just have 25 kilograms, and that didn't get us high enough to move to the higher unit. Here's another example though. A bag of candy is 14 ounces. How much do 2 bags of candy weigh? So since there are 2 bags, we're going to multiply 14 ounces, because that's the amount that the candy bag weighs, by 2. Well, 14 times 2, we get 28 ounces in total. But no, we have to be careful, because 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces, and we've gone over 16 ounces. We're at 28. So we're going to divide 28 by 16 to find out how many whole pounds there are. 28 divided by 16 will give us 1 pound with 12 ounces left over. So the 2 bags of candy weighs 1 pound and 12 ounces together. It's better to say 1 pound and 12 ounces versus 28 ounces. Here's another example. We have a chocolate bar weighs 43 grams. How much do 25 chocolate bars weigh in kilograms? So, since there are 25 chocolate bars, we're going to multiply 43 grams by 25, and that's going to give us 1,075 grams in total. But we want kilograms, so note that 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams, and we've gone over 1,000 grams. So we're going to divide 1,075 by 1,000 to see how many whole kilograms there are. Well, this would give us 1 kilogram, and there's going to be 75 grams left. So that would be 1.075 kilograms, or 1 kilogram and 75 grams. But again, we want it in kilograms, so the 25 chocolate bars are going to weigh a total of 1.075 kilograms. Another example, we can look at decorative tape. Cassandra has 5 pieces of decorative tape that measure 75 centimeters long each. How long is the tape altogether in meters? So, to find the length of the tape, we're going to multiply 5 for the 5 pieces by 75 for the centimeters to get 375 centimeters in total. But there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter, and we've gone over 100 centimeters with 375. So we need to divide 375 by 100 to find the whole number of meters that there are. Well, 375 divided by 100 is going to give you a whole number of 3, and the remainder of 75 is going to be the number in centimeters. So Cassandra has, with her 5 pieces of decorative tape, 3 meters and 75 centimeters, or 3.75 meters of tape. We also have a cake recipe here as an example. We have a cake recipe calls for 5 cups of milk. So how many pints is this? Well, a pint is 2 cups, and there are 5 cups. So we're going to divide 5 by 2. This is an example of a division problem now. And 5 divided by 2 gives us 2 whole pints, and there's going to be 1 cup left over. So, to put it plainly, the recipe calls for 2 pints and 1 cup of milk. What is 1 liter and 600 milliliters times 2? Well, when we multiply both numbers by 2, 1 times 2 gives us 2 liters, and 600 times 2 gives us 1,200 milliliters. But remember, a liter is 1,000 milliliters, and we've gone over 1,000 milliliters with our 1,200 milliliters. So we need to change the 1,200 milliliters into liters, which gives us 1 liter and 200 milliliters left over, because you're subtracting 1,000 from the 1,200. But we can add that liter and the 200 milliliters. We're adding what we just found. The 1,200 milliliters is now 1 liter and 200 milliliters. And we're going to add that to the existing 2 liters we got by multiplying by 2. And that gives us 3 liters and 200 milliliters, which is 3.2 liters for the answer. It can get a little tricky, but just remember your milliliters versus your liters. But we have to remember to convert at the end. Finally, another example is between gallons and quarts. A lot easier to say. What is 1 gallon and 3 quarts times 2? Well, when we multiply by 2, we get 2 gallons. 1 gallon times 2 is 2 gallons, and 3 quarts times 2 is 6 quarts. But remember, a gallon is 4 quarts, and 6 quarts goes over that measurement. So we can change the 6 quarts into gallons, which gives us 1 gallon and 2 quarts left over. So we're going to add that 1 gallon to the existing 2 gallons, and we have our 2 gallons to give us 3 gallons, and then the 2 quarts left over. So that makes our answer 3 gallons and 2 quarts. So again, you're just multiplying by a factor, and that's going to put you over with some of your measurements, so that you're going to have to change them into different measurements that are a little bit higher.